What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time. All right, so here we are again. A is for Alcoholic. Our sponsor, as always, is the Green Camel Press, greencamelpress.com. Go to greencamelpress.com. Christmas is almost coming. We've got Christmas cards for you. Jerry, I'm going to send you a Christmas card for Christmas. Not like I'm going to write in it, but I'm going to send it to you as a gift.
Oh, thank you. I've always wanted a Christmas card. I've always wanted a blank Christmas card.
A blank Christmas card. But if you need blank Christmas cards, you could go to greencamelpress.com. I'll make you a screaming deal. Go check it out and check out the art. All cool stuff. I also want to let you know that we are brought to you by the Gluten is Not Your Problem podcast. Is everything okay? Hi.
Yeah, my wife is coming in here because we're recording now.
Hi, Megan and Coco. What's up? And Gluten is Not Your Problem. Walter and I talked about his very strange birthday party at the roller rink.
Which one?
He went to
yeah.
He went to the roller rink and he just said it was very disturbing and uncomfortable and he felt too old. And I was like, yeah.
Wasn't it his idea, though?
It was his
I love
idea.
that our whole intro is dedicated to the weird shit our friend Walter does.
So you should check out Gluten is Not Your Problem and also Rashida and John, which is the podcast I do with my girlfriend Rashida, of course. And we talk about health and wellness. And I think Jerry and I were just talking before we hit record about our workout routines. And I think we're going to start one called Mad Gains.
Mad Gains, bro.
About middle-aged men trying to just stay fit and mad gains and mad pains. That's what we call it.
And it's just going to be like the most fucking useless misinformation. Like everything's wrong.
Right?
It's probably a lot like this podcast. Like everything's just wrong. It's just our version of it. And it's like, oh, that's not how this works at all.
No. Well, I think that like, well, let me ask you, like we always talk about recovery, right? And so there are people who are super hardcore about the way that it works, and you follow these steps, and this is the only way, and if you're not doing this, then you're doing people harm. Like, I've heard this from people.
Right.
And I think that I speak for both of us when I say that it's really about what level of sobriety, what you're interested in, and what recovery genuinely, I think it's very personal and what it means to you.
Yes.
And as long as you're
it is
happy,
very personal.
As long as you're, maybe not happy is the wrong word. You're not always going to be happy, but as long as you are fulfilled in that particular aspect, it shouldn't matter how you got there.
Right.
Right. I think
as long as you're not in hell.
Do you
know what I mean? Like, as long as like everything's not total garbage.
As long as you're not suffering.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. I always bristle at that whole, like, you're doing it wrong. The only way you're doing it wrong is if you're still getting fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you choose to be sober and not work any program at all and you're happy, that's fucking rad. And if you choose to be sober and be completely miserable about it, you're probably going to start drinking or getting loaded again. It's just the way it is,
So I wrestle with that sometimes too, and I swear we're going to get to the topic of today's episode, but because I worry for myself sometimes if I'm not like following the program stringently that I'm going to fall off the wagon or I'm going to not. I don't really believe that, but I also don't want to. I know how tricky my brain can be, right? So I'm always careful to be conscious of it and to be aware of it, and to, at the very least, do the next right thing. But I know for me, that would not have been enough on its own to just say, oh, I'll do the next right thing. And that the rigid structure and, steps of a program to follow and to fall back on when I forget to follow them and go, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Oh, that's right. I'm supposed to be working this part of it and then doing this. And then if I do all the steps, then I'll be okay. So that's just, that's me, is that I lived such an unstructured life.
Correct.
So, I mean, I don't know if you don't, how do you feel about free flowing versus rigid structure?
I'm pretty free flow.
Mm-hmm.
I have structure, but it's not rigid, and it's a very loose structure.
Yeah.
But I still try to follow the structure, and I still try to follow some of the philosophies I've learned and the philosophies that have worked for me to keep me content in my recovery,
Mm-hmm.
Because then there's also this narrative that, like, you have to be every single time you have to be in this huge amount of pain and in great distress to have a relapse. And sometimes I think people just relapse because I've said it before on the podcast. It's just what we do. We're alcoholics. We drink.
Yeah.
The amazing part is that we're not drinking, so I mean, it could be anything. There could be any excuse. It's really weird because I think there is this big narrative especially in our circles where it's like, you were really hurting and in a lot of pain, and that's why you fucking went back out again. And so, like, I honestly think sometimes people were doing fucking great and they went back out because they're like, I'm doing so good, I got this shit handled.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just like, hey, what's this one thing gonna do? Because you forget that fucking dragon's got teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I mean, I'm so uncertain on all of it. I just keep doing what I'm doing now, and it seems to be working. And I can, like, you asked me how my week was, and it's like been a kind of a crappy month, and like the way it used to be is I would have drank over it, and I just haven't.
I got a jury summons. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, but see, I like going to jury duty. Yeah, everybody thinks I'm fucking crazy, and I'm like, it's my civic duty. I enjoy it. I'm like, put me on a case, even a boring one. I made it all the way up to the courtroom, and they dismissed me. I think it's because of the way I look. I think I look dodgy.
You do look dodgy.
I do look dodgy.
If I saw you on the street, man, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Cuffing his jeans. I don't know.
Big old cuffs.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with your big old cuffs?
I think, so I was having lunch with my friend who I'm going to the desert with in a couple of weeks, and we're going to run that half marathon because apparently I can't not talk about running at least once a week on this podcast.
It's your new alcohol.
It's my
your new
alcohol.
Tito's.
It is my new Tito's. God. And he doesn't drink anymore, but he just kind of said, I'm done with it and it sucks and I don't like it anymore. But he's very much, he'll occasionally eat a little edible. He likes to see the other dimensions. He's one of the things, he's going to meet another friend of his down there, and they're going to have a night, maybe two, of eating mushrooms and going out into the desert. And
2 nights, man. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
One night to me sounds horrible, but 2 nights sounds like...
I don't know. It's none of my business. And I said, you guys should do what you want to do whenever you want to do it. And like, I don't have a problem with it. It's totally cool. But
I just meant horrible in the sense like the come down. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm not passing judgment. I meant like, it just sounds like Barf City.
It sounds awful to me too. And he asked me, he's like, why don't you ever feel like you want to, on this spiritual path, don't you ever feel like you want to see the other dimensions and stuff? And I was like, man, what I think of is if I could eat one edible, my brain immediately is like, let's see how many I can eat. Like, can I eat 2 or 3 or 4? And if I can eat an eighth of mushrooms, maybe I should eat a fourth. Like I should, if I take 2 hits of acid, if that's how much I'm told to take, I immediately want to think like, maybe we should do 5, man. And let's get fucking crazy, bro. Like that's what my brain says to me. And I just can't do it. So I have to, that's just not the path I'm on right now. And I say that, and when we talk about what our topic is today is O is for old habits die hard.
Woo.
And so that was one of those things I was just thinking about at lunch today. Was like, I can't do it because my brain, the habit that my brain is used to is more. But I also am not, I don't want to say that I will never do anything again, because I feel like that definitiveness is also something that scares me. So it's like part of what keeps me on this regular daily routine is that, I'm just going to do it for today. And we say it all the time, one day at a time. And it sounds, what's the word? It sounds
cliched.
It sounds cliched, but it's
kind of
true.
hacky.
It sounds very hacky, but it's true, because like if I go, I'm never going to drink again, there's a part of me that's like, oh God, you're never going to drink again? Well, we have to leave the door open a little bit, right?
You got to leave the crack open, just in case you got to get in that escape hatch.
So
it just doesn't go anywhere, but at least you were in there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think that I'm ever going to do mushrooms again or LSD or any of that shit, but I don't want to.
I feel like psychedelics are really coming into the more the forefront of like kind of culture of society right now, and I think it's because our generation is growing up and we've become middle-aged and we all experimented with psychedelics, so they've become a more of a common thing to be able to talk about, people microdosing and stuff like that. It comes up at work. I work with a couple guys, and one guy's theory is I need to take as much as I can, so if you give me a whole fucking eighth, I'll eat the whole fucking eighth of mushrooms. And I work with another guy who will just like microdose throughout the week. And
like at work even, or just
no, not at work, just on his days off and stuff. But he's also like, well, what, you don't want to get to know yourself? And I'm like, I am getting to myself. Like, to me, I've always looked at it like, and this is just my opinion, it's like if you're using drugs, like it's something outside of yourself to get to this higher path of consciousness, isn't the journey to the higher path of consciousness the point? Or is the point getting to that higher path of consciousness? Do you know what I'm saying? So if I could get to that higher path of consciousness through discipline and meditation and
prayer,
actually working my prayer, or what, what I mean, mantras and shit, and working myself, or do I just eat mushrooms and see the fucking fractal people and high five them? It doesn't work for me. I and also the other dimension, I get that one from this guy too, like, well, you don't want to see what's on the other side. And I'm like, why do I have the ego to think that I deserve to see what's on the other side? I'm not some intrepid traveler who needs to see whatever is on the other side of the veil. That's not for me. If it was for me, then it would be allotted to me. But the argument is, well, it's allotted to you with mushrooms. And I'm like, nope, breathing exercises. Get into one of those tanks, like that movie Altered States, like Joe Rogan.
Dude, those tanks are awesome. You should go into one of these days for your next year for your birthday.
When I was drinking, I was always afraid I would have a panic attack when I was drinking. Now that I'm sober, I'm less inclined to panic attacks. So I've been curious about it, but
it's a little unnerving at first but you're also,
can't you just like open the door?
It's not, you're not locked.
I'm done.
You can leave anytime.
They just lock you in there and they play death metal.
No, you're just trapped inside this giant egg. But like I immediately like, and I'm not just saying that, the hyperbole of it or
deprivation tank. Sensory deprivation
tank. But the idea that my brain wants more and more and more, I'm not just saying that. Like, that was instantly what I thought about when I thought about, like, let's do the drugs.
Right.
Because I used to do...
It gives me anxiety because I'm out of control.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think let's do more. I'm like, let's not do any, because I get anxiety because I'll be out of control. And also because I don't want to be altered.
I don't
want to be intoxicated.
You were never a psychedelic kind of dude anyway.
No, give me whiskey and cigarettes and leave me alone. Or make out with me. Those are my two things. Leave me alone or make out with me. That's all I want. The whiskey and cigarettes,
If you could do both.
But I never was. But I can absolutely relate with the old way of thinking. I do it with food. I bargain with food. I bargain with the way I eat all the time. I will cut things out so that I can fit things in that I know are unhealthy for me or not good for me. I do it with games. I have lots of obsessive repetitive behavior.
I was thinking about food, and I was thinking about...
I was thinking about food. Wrong podcast.
Yeah, man. I was thinking about a cheeseburger the other day, but...
I had one.
Was it good?
It was all right.
See, that's the thing. Is like I
We
wanted
got it from a good place too, and it was all right.
I would have one, but I want it to be fucking delicious. You know what I mean?
It's
Like I want to be
800, 900 calories.
Then it would, but as long as I knew it was going to be fucking amazing, then I wouldn't care.
You gotta save that bitch up. You know what I mean?
But I was thinking about the counting of the calories, right? And I was like, okay, so sometimes I count the calories, right? And why do I count the calories? Because of my relationship with food. That's why I started it, because I had a very unhealthy relationship with food, and I ate food because I wanted comfort, I wanted security, I wanted to feel good, I wanted pleasure, and it was like, and then I was like, well, because I wanted love, I wanted that, and food equaled love to me.
Yeah.
And so that's how I showed myself love, was through eating fucking bags of salami and Swiss cheese and you know, pints and pints of ice cream. Everything all right? Was that?
There's all kinds of ghosts. No, there's one of those giant mosquito hawks flying around the room. It looks like, and it's like as big as a fucking hummingbird.
Maybe
so I'm just like, don't get. Yeah, he's like, hey, you've been fucking up lately.
That's a mosquito hawk. So yeah, I was thinking about this, and maybe I was thinking a little too much, but that food was my way of showing myself love when I didn't know any other way. And so why did I want love? Dude. Because exactly. Because I didn't get what I needed as a kid, and then I grew up feeling, you know, whether feelings of abandonment or abuse or neglect, and so finding things outside of me to make me feel happy, even though that happiness was very temporary and had some severe consequences. So now I count these calories because I'm still developing this healthy relationship with food. It's not there 100%. Like you said, you barter, you bargain, right? And so you...
Right, but I'm never without. Do you know what I mean? I never like... It's not like the same kind of bartering when I drank, where I was like, okay, I can get 3 hours of sleep. I can function on those 3 hours of sleep, Jesus. You know? Yeah.
And yeah, I guess drinking had far more adverse effects on life.
Absolutely. That's why we're doing this fucking podcast, and I got my dog over there barking. I would have drank him to the fucking moon. Little fucker. But you know, it's funny because I think about it, and the way you describe it, it sounds just like your relationship with alcohol and the things that you thought we could both get. Because I relate, absolutely. Those are things I thought I could get from alcohol. And then it poses another question on me when we talk about, what is it, old habits die hard. I wonder, am I in this to remove the old habit, or am I in this to adapt the old habit? Do you know? Because I feel like if I remove the old habit, which is this obsessive compulsive behavior, right? And in the past, this obsessive compulsive behavior was not only fueled by my physical addiction, but by my psychological addiction to it. So now I remove the physical, I'm still psychologically drawn to this thing, even though I know it doesn't do any good for me. It actually does the opposite. You know, it does awful for me. So do I remove it, which is going to be really fucking hard, or do I just adapt it? And so I've kind of reserved myself to adapt to it, or to adapt it to a healthier thing, or to something that will benefit me, or benefit my family, or benefit my mental state, you know?
So the habit doesn't change.
In my opinion,
the routine changes.
Right. Or at least the habit. I mean, some people can remove. I mean, we were just talking about a guy who ran a 2-hour marathon. I mean, if that guy can physically do it, why can't someone psychologically overcome something? You know what I mean? For their own benefit. But for me, I look at it and I'm like, right now at this point in my life, it is impossible for me to remove that old habit, that obsessive kind of compulsive behavior I have in my mind. You know?
With ingesting, imbibing, with things.
With making myself feel better. Right? But taking this weird shortcut that all it does is harm my health and harm my relationships, and what makes me want to harm myself, you know? And so I'm like, well, how do I adapt it? How do I change it? How do I transform it? You know, rip, 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 rip. It's a transformer noise, you know? Like, how do I change it into something positive that'll work for me? And every day I think about it. I struggle with it. Like, I commit time to thinking about it, like in the shower or on the bus, and I'm like, how do I approach this situation in my life without having to rely on these old tools that didn't work, you know? Yeah, It's a fucking mind fuck, dude.
I don't know if we did an episode about this, but I'm gonna bring this up again. I think maybe I read a book last year or the year before about habits, and I don't remember what it was called. It was like The Science of Habits or something, and there's 3 parts to any habit, which is the cue, the routine, and then the reward. So like,
right, we may have talked about this, but refresh our memories.
So
this is
so like the cue would be, oh, it's 5 o'clock, and then the routine is I'll mix myself a drink, and the reward is the ease and comfort that comes from that drink. And
right.
So that then, or whatever the cue might be for smoking a cigarette is like, I'm going to get in the car. A lot of people smoke in the car. I used to smoke in the car a lot. And
so
then,
did I.
And then you get that reward. Well, I think one of the differences with cigarettes is that it's not really a reward. It's just keeping you from feeling horrible, but while
maintenance.
Still, it's
right.
maintenance.
But alcohol over time becomes maintenance as well. But I get your point, though. It's an absolutely valid point.
So when you talk about this routine that now you didn't remove, but you're just replacing it with food, and now you have it.
Right.
You've kind of restricted it or constricted it to this calorie counting app.
Right.
Which I think is an amazing tool and has helped me to really, it's helped me to lose a lot of weight, and it's helped me to really be mindful with my eating, even if it seems a little obsessive with, plugging in every cup of spinach that I have,
But it's also a mile marker. Like, you are aware of what you're putting into your body, and that's not a negative thing. It may appear obsessive to people around you, but fuck them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they can't tell you what they had for lunch yesterday. I can.
Right? I can tell you what I had for
Penang
lunch
curry.
last month.
Penang curry and half a cup of rice, but... And it's not even just a food thing. It's fucking... It's like any positive thing, showing love to my wife and daughter, being forgiving, trying not to react so quickly in an anger, because my old habits during my active alcoholism was 0 to 10 immediately. And I've gone back there, and I understand what the AA people call a dry drunk. I get it now because I've had a few of them. It's where I fell back into my old habits again, and I was acting like an asshole. You know what I mean? Acting like a hungover person all the time without the benefit of drinking or the detriment or whatever you want to call it. But so it's not even just the food thing or the fitness thing. It's like this mental thing I'm trying to do all the time, where I'm like, don't react, Jerry, don't react. Think about it. Like, think about what's happening, and I react a lot. Like, I fail it constantly, but being aware of it, and I have to tell myself all the time, I'm like, being aware of it now and being willing to make the change is way better than where you were before. So now you just got to start making the changes, or at least finding the tools, or finding a resource, or like you asked me how's your week going, and maybe old Jerry would have complained. I would have been like, fine. And I was just open with you. I'm like, dude, it was hard, but what do I do? Like, do I sit here and think about how hard it is and get sad? I did that last week, and it was exhausting,
Yeah.
So it wasn't just, but I guess my point is, it wasn't just the food thing, but it is the food thing.
It's
too.
a way of thinking. I just was saying that you sometimes, and I do the same thing, where that routine has changed. So the cue would be, I feel bad. Right, for me, and so then then the routine would have been go drink, and now it's like, or eat something bad, and now it's gotten better, but the routine is still somewhat like, well, then I'm gonna go get a veggie burrito, which is not a terrible thing.
Or your old thing was a pint of ice cream.
Pint of ice
you know
cream.
what I mean? Or
So if I look at it in the larger perspective of things, my routines are getting better. My rewards are not as immediately like ecstatic and euphoric, right? But I'm also those consequences, those fucking come downs of like the idea of like bliss being all the way up here, and then but bliss doesn't last, and then when I come back down to despair, it's awful. And so I want to find that thing where it balances out. Ultimately, what I'd like to do is look at the things that I put in my body as fuel to be able to do other things.
Right.
And we're also inundated with advertisement and marketing that tell us that what you want as a human being is to sit on the couch and be comfortable and eat fucking food. Like that's what this is a whole different conversation, but commercial advertising is all about is like the beginning of what was that Pixar movie with the dudes who were in the chairs that moved around and they were like big and fat and they just
Wall-E.
Was that it?
Wall-E, yeah.
And it's like that's what American advertising is. And no offense to anybody who's in marketing or advertising, but seriously, that's all I ever see. Knock it off. Seriously, I see it on where do I get most of my media from now? I mean, I watch a lot of Netflix, YouTube, and commercials, and Instagram scrolling.
Right.
That's what it is.
YouTube never tries to sell me food, though. YouTube's always trying to sell me soap and like a ball hair groomer.
Oh, that's right. The dude who yells
They're always
at me
trying to
about my
sell
soap.
me. Yeah, the dude who yells about soap, and then the dude who yells at me about my hairy genitals, and I'm like,
Leave me
like you
be.
can. Of course, nobody can see my face, but it's just this like, my soap is fine, and all my undercarriage is perfectly fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everything's fine. Like stop yelling. Or it's sunglasses that open up bottles of beer, and I'm like,
You're
I
right.
already have sunglasses. I don't even open up soda bottles anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
give me a fucking break. YouTube, y'all got to figure out your algorithm. Mine is like cool punk rock t-shirts and stuff with like scary Halloween stuff on it.
Yeah.
Come on now. Yeah. Rings.
Like
Just fucking fedoras that I never wear. Come on.
like a T-shirt with the Ramones with pumpkin heads on them instead of
Right.
yeah.
Joe Valentino sent me a picture of the Ramones last night, and he wrote, you should change this from the Ramones to the Mamones, which Spanish mamon is like an asshole or a sucker, like, because mama means suck. So he's like, it should say mamones, and they should all be taking selfies. Like, he just sends me, yeah, I loved it. It made me laugh so hard.
It's a bit deep. You'd have to know who the Ramones were. You'd have to speak
And then
Spanish.
also know that mamon, yeah, it's very niche, but there are a lot of Latino punk rockers. So
Yeah.
Latino and Latina, yeah.
You could send it to that Morrissey crowd in L.A. They might get it.
They'd fucking love it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
They'd love it, yeah.
But I think he's great. He's great. You know, he's always got some weird shit that takes a minute to kind of like, it's really smart.
You're like,
Yeah. But the routine, the habit is the habit of thinking. It's the way that we think. It's the way that we go about making our decisions. And I think that that being aware is the first step for me. Was like, oh, okay, so that's how I work. That's how my brain works. And that's how I can answer questions when somebody says, hey, how come you don't want to do psychedelics, or how come you don't drink? And I had somebody offer me wine at work. You know, there was some bottle that was supposed to be super fancy or whatever, and they're like, yeah, you should taste this. I was like, no thanks, you go ahead. And I try not to be, I'm open with my sobriety, but also not everybody needs to fucking know.
They don't. Yeah, you just start telling your story immediately.
So-
You're like, my first drink was when I was 14 years old.
And they're like, you're like, I gotta go, like, I don't want to be obnoxious with it. The same thing with the fact that I don't really eat meat anymore. And so I kind of just avoid it because I don't want to be like, well, they're like, so do you want some of this pork tenderloin? You're like, well, actually, no, I'm going to be running a half marathon in a couple of weeks. And so it's like, huh? No, I don't care. Just eat it or
Don't need that
Like,
shit. So you're just like, no thanks, I don't need any wine.
Yeah, no thanks, I don't need any wine.
I'll be taking these cannolis though.
Exactly. But, there's still that thought. Like, I had like my nose in a glass of wine because they were passing them around as like a tasting. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It smells like Cabernet. It's probably
It smells
fruity
like
and...
shit to me. Can tell it doesn't bother you, huh?
It doesn't bother me because for me it's like it's a job, right? I've always said this before, that like when I was tending bar and even working around booze, in whatever capacity, it's like a bank teller doesn't steal dollars all the time. I mean,
that's a good analogy.
So like that's kind of how I look at it. I know that the analogies may not be perfect, but like
it's a good one though.
You don't go to the bank
one.
because they pay you, so they're going to work, and I'm not gonna drink it. But there's still those thoughts of like, ooh, yeah, I remember when I used to pound this shit.
Yeah, it fires up the little lights in your head. But now they're dimmer because there's no compulsion or need there, I imagine. It's because if there were, you'd be drinking.
Yeah, I
You know
don't
what
feel I don't feel compulsion or need. I mean, I know we
or at least it changed.
yeah, we don't sit here and do this because, I don't know what I'm trying to say. No, I don't feel any compulsion or need anymore, but I'm definitely aware of compulsions and needs that I've had in the past, right?
You have to be, right? Yeah.
So and here's another example is like we were at this ramen joint and they had this like cold brew matcha green tea shit, and I was like, huh, that sounds cool. I've never heard of that before. And it was just like cold green tea. And she brings it over
Sounds
in this
good.
little carafe, and she's like shaking it up, and she pours it, and I was like, oh, and excuse me, miss, and I'm like, there's no alcohol in here, right? It's just tea. And she's like, yeah, just tea. And I was like, okay. I need to be diligent because, one, I don't want to slip.
Yes.
I certainly don't want to ingest anything on accident because it would just, I don't know, it would probably ruin my day. I mean, I don't think it would be horrible.
You feel like shit all day and be hypersensitive to, am I feeling different?
Right.
What happens now? I understand that. I just haven't slipped yet. Not accidentally.
No, but
not on purpose either.
Yeah, not at all. But so that's why I'm always asking and I'm always cautious with it, because I don't want those lights to fire up because they may be dim, but the dimmer switch is still there.
Dude, if you were allergic to shellfish and they offered like something like fish sticks, bouillabaisse, you'd be like, is there crab juice or whatever they make? You know what I mean? Is there crab broth in this? That wouldn't make you unreasonable.
No.
You know what I mean? So I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think you think so either, though. But for anybody out there who's listening, it's not unreasonable for you to ask if there's alcohol in it.
No.
You have I have an averse reaction to alcohol.
It was also 2 in the afternoon.
Dude, they bring me chocolate chip cookies at work. People bring in candies and shit all the time. And every time I'm like, is there weed in this?
Right.
Because Oregon is made out of weed. And so everybody assumes that you smoke fucking weed. And I don't fuck with weed because I have panic attacks and because I don't like being intoxicated. So I want to eat at least half of this cookie, but if there's weed in it, I'm going to be fucking bummed. Like, it's going to ruin my day, and it's going to ruin your day next time I see you.
Yeah.
So I always have to ask. And they're always like, there's not weed in everything. And I'm like, there is weed. I just went to the dispensary with you because you gave me a ride home. And they had weed in everything. They have weed in everything. So, yeah, I got to be careful, dude.
Do they have those, those
Hershey's Kiss and wake up in wake up in Washington State. Like,
right. Yeah. Do they have weed gum? They do like bubble gum?
Yeah, bubble gum, the gummy bears, fucking pizza, like anything you can put weed in to get high. We're humans. We love getting fucked up. And I'm not going to discount the fact that a lot of people use it for chronic illness and that. I mean, I'm not even going to bring that up because that should go without saying, but like, we like to get fucked up, and any way we can try to get fucked up. Think about all the different ways people usually get even drunk. Have you heard about these like Tide Pod, the Scotch Tide Pod?
Yes,
thing
I did. Doing? What the fuck is that? It's like
That's
a gusher.
Stupid. Who does a shot of Scotch? Have you ever done a shot of Scotch? No.
Well, actually, that's not true. I was on the Las Vegas
we're on
Strip
the wrong pad. Yeah, okay. And we're also on the wrong podcast. Say who does a shot of Scotch? Because I've literally drank warm whiskey out from under my bed at like 3 a.m. So I was like waking up from a sleep. So I shouldn't ask.
I had a pint of Scotch on the Las Vegas Strip, drinking it out of my dad's '70s like cat puke brown leather jacket. That was all ripped in the back. Like,
right. So you have taken shots of Scotch. That's wrong. But would you do it in gusher form? Probably.
No.
When we were drinking, absolutely would have. But what I'm saying is, like, we just look for reasons. We just look for ways to get fucked up. All that is a new way to get fucked up, or a different approach to not feeling like the way you feel, because the way you feel is like shit, or you feel uncomfortable and you need to feel comfortable, or whatever your reason is, Yeah, it just cracks me up. It's just like all this White Claws and all that, and I'm like, that's Zima, motherfucker. You're killing me. It's just Zima.
It's the same shit.
It's the same shit. And Zima was gross unless you put vodka in it.
Yeah, I mean, we were. It's true. I used to do it with ciders, vodka, and I'd put cider on top of it. But
yeah, because what's the use of just drinking soda?
We were talking about this. What did he say at lunch? We were just talking about the fact that beforehand, everything was revolved around drinking. Even the most active of activities, like let's go
All of
hike
it.
the mountain. It's like, wouldn't it be great? We'll bring some cold brewskis and we'll crack them on the top of the, even he was saying he was a very active bike rider, and he's like, we're gonna go ride some bikes, and then we're gonna get drunk out by the lake or
This is
whatever
your partner?
it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's funny because we were the same way. Our whole friendship, our whole
Everything.
friend group, and we had like external friends that were peripheral that were also did the same thing. I mean, out of the four of us that were really close, and then the other circles that kind of surrounded us, it was all everything was based on drinking. That's all it
Everything.
was. Every single thing. Yeah.
We would say things like, let's go out to dinner, or oh, it's our Sunday night, let's go watch movies at Jerry's house, whatever it was. But it was always, we got to stop by the liquor store, we got to stop by the corner store, there's got to be this, alcohol will be involved in some way or another. And so
absolutely, yeah.
I heard about the Scotch pods, like they were doing, like it was like a Johnny Walker flight, but it was like little pods. And like, what is that plastic shit made out of? I mean, what gelatin, what's the point?
It's probably some type of gelatin, but the point is it's just a unique novel way to get loaded,
Vaping alcohol, I think they were smoking it or something like that. That was a thing a few years back.
Maybe, I don't know. God, that'd probably be bad for you.
What about butt chugging? You remember that?
Yeah, and then the other day somebody had mentioned it. Oh, butt chugging, you know what's up, right, Jerry? And I'm like, I never butt chugged, but I would have. I absolutely would have.
Probably.
If I could have found someone who would have done it for me, like help me out, and they assured me that I wouldn't die, like I'd be like, yeah, let's do this. Because, I mean, not to get too rough on it's a podcast, but I already had diarrhea all the time. What the fuck was the difference?
What would be the difference of a little whiskey shits?
Oh, I guess the whiskey's not digested. Like, come on now. Yeah,
it's still.
I absolutely 100% would have done it.
Yeah, I just.
Just no one wanted to do it to me, and I didn't really want to do it to myself. So.
Well, and that was like 2000. I think you were nearing the end. I think that was like 2012 or 13. So
right,
I think
that's the party was over at that point.
Yeah,
there was like nobody to drink. I just drank by myself. But I would be like, "Yo, John, can you hook me up with a wine enema?" Do you know what I mean? Like you'd be like, you probably would have actually just got to stand in the tub and do it. But,
I probably would have
just to say I did it. But.
I would have been like,
but now I'd be like,
lube it up.
Why you put no fucking thing in my butt? And then what?
Mm-hmm. So
no.
I just feel like, so it's all these, there are so many of these things that people they're trying to get excited, do something different. And it's like, I mean, I don't think those things are for real alcoholics. And
no, that's the novelty for people who just want to say that they drank in a party bus, or maybe the butt chugging thing, I don't know. That takes some alcoholic dedication, but like all these other things are it's just part of the novelty of drinking. Drinking is accepted and subversive at the same time. It's so strange. Right? It exists because everybody drinks in culture to get over these things or to deal with these things, but then there's that line where it goes from being accepted to subversive. Do you know what I mean? To the point where you're against culture because you fucking black out and make out with someone's wife and punch her husband. Do you know what I mean? Or crash your car or whatever. It's such a complex thing.
It's totally acceptable until I won't say it's totally acceptable, but until you crash your car, until you like infringe upon somebody else's, livelihood or good time or something like that.
They're like, you can hurt yourself all you want.
Right.
Don't hurt them. Because I've even had people be like, I don't know, you didn't seem like an alcoholic to me. I've heard that a few times. And I'm like, have you fucking met me? Really? And it was usually people who didn't drink with me all the time, but it was people I know who still drink now. And they're like, I don't get it. Like, you'd never seem like an alcoholic. Like, I was supposed to be like this homeless, and there's, like this homeless fucking sad. I was sad. But do you know what I mean? Like that stereotype of what an alcoholic is, what's portrayed in media and
Under the bridge.
Like, oh, these people can't handle their shit. And I'm like, well, I can't handle that shit because there's something in my brain. It's not even like I'm weak-willed. It's just, and part of me is very weak-willed, but my brain is all fucked up, Doc.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So when you talk about those old habits and adapting them to new ways of being, thinking, and just existing. Like, can you give me some examples of, like, and the one that that stuck out to me was the one you were like talking about bettering relationships with my family, like with my wife. Can you talk about like what the habit, like kind of what drinking would have been like in your relationship with your wife, and now things that would have caused, like an argument that would have caused you to drink versus
so
now.
What I tell myself now, because it's not even just things that would have caused me to drink, it's the way I behaved when I was hungover or while I was drinking. You know, it was never like, oh, Megan is gone for 2 days on a photo shoot in Phoenix, so I'm gonna drink. I'm just like, I drink. Megan's gone for 2 days on a photo shoot for Phoenix. That pisses me off because she needs to fucking be here with me and not leave me alone. And maybe she's hanging out with some fucking dude I don't know, or some cool photographer who's not a shitty fucking drunk. Or she needs to be here with me and Olive, or she just left Olive with her mom because she couldn't leave Olive with me because I was fucking drunk all the time, you know? And so then that would turn into me being resentful and jealous and drunk and envious, and also really envious and really resentful of her ability to be able to talk to people without being drunk, and ability to be able to further her career without being drunk, you know? And so the way that urgency is gone now. Do you know what I mean? Like, that urgent fucking feeling, that feeling of complete panic is gone. And I think what I do intentionally to not think about it is this is all fucking temporary. Like, I have to keep telling myself that all the time. So when I feel that fury, that anger, that insecurity, all that shit, you know, those old habits, because a lot of it was based in insecurity, I just have to tell myself this is temporary, you know? This is absolutely temporary. It will pass. You just got to breathe through it, and eventually that obsessive feeling, it'll pass, you know? But the obsessive feeling was a lot worse before because I was always mentally and physically ill, you know? So those are parts of the conscious things. Being mindful of the moment, pausing, you know, like walking away. Like I get really frustrated with my daughter at times because she's 9 years old and doesn't want to do homework. And I'm like, it will take you fucking 20 minutes. Just sit down and fucking do it, you know? And she'll fight me on it. She won't fight me on it, but she'll get upset, and she's very sensitive, and she starts crying, and then I get frustrated because I'm like, why the fuck are you crying? You just gotta add, you know? But instead of me saying that to her, I just go, you know what? Your mom's gonna help you with this. I gotta go for a walk, and I'll just walk. I'll just leave the house and walk. I'll put my shoes on, and I'll leave pissed off, but by the time I get back, I'm fine. Just removing myself from it. And if I'm unable to, even in the smallest way, I don't have to, I can just go in my bedroom. Yeah. Be like, you know what? You can get, even if Megan's not here, I'm like, you get a break. You get 5-10 minutes to cry, feel sad, work it out. Then I'll come back and I'll help you. Yeah. But I need 5-10 minutes to cry, feel sad, and work it out too, you know?
Yeah.
So I think mindfulness is a lot of it. Being aware of my triggers is a lot of it, you know? Knowing your triggers is really important, I think, as well. Your emotional triggers. If you know that, like, you're going to fucking, you have to go to your mom's house, but you know that she's drunk and you're going to fight and she's a pain in your fucking ass, like, don't go. And if you have to go, find a way out. Yeah. Not find a way out like, go and do your obligation, but if it gets hairy, find a way out. Just got to find a way out.
Yeah.
And who fucking cares what they think? Just find your way out. Be like, hey, I got to go. You know, whatever. My brain is full of bees, and then run off into the night or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, escape plans are always good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, so the relationship I'm in right now, I've been in the entire time I've been sober. So she never knew me drinking. But when I think about relationships that I'd been in where I was drinking, it was always me against them, and alcohol was something that I had to get, right? So it was always this, it was this, and not me, yeah, I guess me against them, because there would always be this balancing act where I kind of had to keep them far enough away, but make them feel close enough so that I could still continue to drink and have the relationship, even though neither one was being completely fulfilled, because I was always trying to hide it, and I was always trying to keep up a wall, keep up a barrier. I was hiding it. And so now, like, one of the things, and, you know, Rashida and I are very communicative, and we talk a lot, and we talk very openly a lot. And one of the things that I have learned is, like, whatever the problem might be, like if we're on a team together and we have a problem to fix, then we're going to fix this problem. It's not her against me. There's a problem and we're not communicating correctly, and we have to figure out how to do that. And so it's not a fight, it's that there's an issue, and so I'm here to help fix that issue. And so that's something that has changed for me relationship wise, that I never used to think that way. I never used to think like, it was always like, I'm angry at you because you need to fix yourself, you need to change, I'm fine.
Yep.
And so that
this is your fault. Yeah,
absolutely. It was always the other person's fault, and it was always something that they were doing to me. And then what is the biggest thing that I have come to learn in recovery that has helped me is, well, what is your part in this, John? Like, what is your part? What is your part? I know you, even if you've been justifiably wronged, how did you get to that point, John?
That's a great way. One of the best ways to break the old habit. I just used that yesterday with dealing with a difficulty in work. And the old me would have blamed everybody but me. I would have been like, well, it's their fault for their arbitrary rule, or their fault for whatever they were doing. And this thing needs to go all the way up to the state level because it's fucked up. And at the end of the day, it was like, my fault. What's my part? What mistake did I make that it needed to be rectified that led me into the position I'm in now?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So, I mean,
then I'm like,
as I hear it a lot with people all the time, that when there's a problem, and I hear it from people who, in recovery, sober, not sober, whatever, where it's always somebody else's fault. And what I want to say that nobody wants to hear and nobody's asking me is, what was your part in it? You know what I mean? So if you start to think about that, because then that means you have to be responsible, and then that means you have to be self-aware, and then that means you have to change something about yourself.
Right.
And that's fucking bullshit. And I just want to, drink and be left alone.
Right. So I just want grandma's locket because grandma loved me the best, and now Aunt Judy's got it. And I'm like, so what is it though? What is it inside that you need to confront that needs you to have that locket? Do you know what I mean? What is it? Because the gesture is that the principle too, man. I bring it up I haven't brought it up in a while, but that's just a stupid fucking hill to die on. It's the principle of the thing. No, it's not. It's only in your head. And if it is the principle, let him get away with it then. Why? So you're going to be miserable? They don't give a fuck. Like, they're still rolling around, grabbing ass, having a great day. You're the one who's all upset, So yeah, it's definitely like, what is it? What's your part in it is great. It's really helpful for old habits. Because if the old habit is blaming other motherfuckers for your problems all the time, there's only one constant in all those situations. You know what I mean? You're the one factor. Yeah. In every single one of those situations. So really look at what you're doing. Yeah. Because it may not even be your own actions that is the consistent thing. It may be your attitude or your perception of it, or the importance this thing holds to you, this resentment you're holding,
Or it could go as deep as, like, you say you have an issue at work and something happened at work, right? And it's like, well, and I don't want to necessarily use you as an example, but I'm just like, something went wrong, right? And so you get in trouble at work. And so, like, well, it wasn't really my fault, but maybe you hadn't been happy at work for a while. So maybe you hadn't been as diligent as you always have been. And maybe you let something slide that you would never let slide, but you have been feeling less than excited about going to work. So you just didn't check on that one thing. And that one thing was more important than you had let it on, but you were fine to let it slide for a little while, and then it finally catches up to you. And it's like, so
I'm agreeing with you. I'm not even taking offense.
I know.
This is the exact route I was taking in my brain when I was thinking about my situation in life. I was like, I let something slide that I'm responsible. Do you know what I mean? But old me would have been like, that is bullshit. That rule is bullshit. You know what I mean? And I hear people do it all the time. This is bullshit. This doesn't work. This is bullshit. Yeah, it's bullshit. But what did you do that caused this thing to happen to you? Now, if you're walking on the street and you're hit by a car, like, Well, maybe you're jaywalking. Do you know what I mean?
I
know
don't
what
know.
I mean? Like
There are accidents happen.
acts of God, some act of God, some accident. But other than that, like in your interpersonal relationships, like what's my part in it? What's my part in it with my insecurity with my wife and leaving, and going to Phoenix for a photo shoot, or the way I treat her, the way we relate, or why she doesn't invite me to go with her, back then, like that was my part in it. I was unfun to be around, so why take me anywhere? Why invite me anywhere? Why wouldn't she want to go hang out with her friends and let a load of Steve off? Because I'm sitting in the house going from 0 to 100 like every fucking second,
Yeah, and I think
being like, gotta get to that Walmart, get that Evan Williams,
Jesus,
fuck, dude, good lord,
it's just fucking sad,
dude.
And I mean, I don't, yeah, it's just sad. It's sad. Evan Williams at the Walmart. It just sounds fucking.
The dude, I didn't even tell you the worst of it, man. Shit, man. I remember getting a 48 pack of diapers, getting a bottle of Evan Williams, not having enough money, so taking the 48 pack of diapers back and getting a 12 pack of diapers in the same bottle of Evan Williams. It's the only thing that would have been better is if I just would have put the diapers back entirely and just put a newspaper around her. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's some fucking Hallmark fucking alcoholic story.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? And like that was normal to me, So why those are my actions? Like why would I? So then people are like, well, you don't look like you've never seen like that much of an alcoholic. I'm like, I would crawl over my fucking mother for a drink. You have no idea. Like, not to be dramatic, but
That's true.
If I would have found a creative way to do it to not hurt anybody's feelings, absolutely.
That's true.
I wasn't at the point yet where I was ready to walk on a motherfucker, but I would definitely find a way around them to get what I wanted because of the manipulator.
Yeah,
that's that real talk.
And it's well, and I even to the point of, for me, it was like, I'm just going to remove everybody out of my life that gets in the way of me drinking.
Yeah, you isolated.
So,
I know you did.
So
yeah.
I didn't put myself in a position to have to walk over anybody. I certainly, and I was not in a as a committed a relationship. I wasn't married with a child like you were, and so it was just easier for me to say, yeah, you know what, whatever's happening outside of this small little world, I don't want any part of it because I won't be able to drink, and so I just avoided everything. And now I can't even imagine. Like I get, I want to go and experience new things, and I think about, and I'm still. I don't want to meet every motherfucker in the world. I'm a lot more introverted than I ever realized when I was drunk. It was more of a show, but I'm not afraid of meeting people. I'm interested, and I'm excited, and I'm happy to like shake somebody's hand and hear their name and hear their story and all that kind of stuff. And talking about, I want to go back to one other thing that was that I was thinking about when we were talking about weed smoke and marijuana, but and your part in it. Well, like, or what was my part in it? There's this show going on in Oakland, and my girlfriend's friend Mike, who's a drummer in this band called Secret Sidewalks, which is really cool. And the guy who's doing the artwork for like their Instagram promos I just really like it. And he's super cool. And so, but this is a group of people who are very much into smoking weed. And that's just a culture, right? It's music, it's Bay Area.
Yeah, it's just,
and she was telling me, she's like, man, I just got to know whether or not it's a no smoking policy because I don't want to get high. I'm not. And a lot of people feel like, well, I'm blowing smoke in your face because I'm sharing the love. And because a lot of people in the area have, marijuana being legal is a big victory for a lot of people, especially people who have been wrongly incarcerated, who have been, wrongly, harassed or whatever for something that is now like legal and free. And she was kind of like preemptively saying, I don't want to get high. I don't want you to fucking blow smoke in my face. I understand that's the way that is. I need to find out what kind of atmosphere I'm going into. And so I love that idea of preemptively taking responsibility for where I'm going to be, because I want to.
No, it makes sense.
I want to enjoy the music. I want to support my friends. I want to have a good time. I want to go out on a Friday night and go to a club and like still enjoy that thing. But I certainly do not want to get fucking high, or I don't want to breathe your fucking lung smoke. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to breathe on me. I wouldn't ask you to. You would never ask anybody to breathe on you any other way. It's gross, but all of a sudden...
You're like, yo, spit that vodka in my mouth.
Right? Exactly. That's
Yeah.
nasty, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spit that vodka in my mouth real quick.
Yo,
Yeah.
from across the room, share the love, bitch. You know.
So it's
I get it though. It's always great to be assertive for yourself.
Mhm.
Absolutely, 100%, 100. Keep it 100. Be assertive.
Be assertive.
for yourself.
be assertive
Yeah.
and take responsibility before. Be preemptive. That was that, and I was like, yeah, because it would be cool to go, but not if I have to worry about that shit.
Yeah, drive home like half high. Yeah.
Ugh, and it would be awful because it wouldn't be fun, and I would feel bad about it, and I would have a headache, and then I would have to talk to somebody about it, and so I don't know. I think that I try to take like the basic idea of the cue, the routine, and the reward, and if I can build it into something positive, then there's nothing wrong with that. If I can go like, I'll take running, for example, oh, I'm feeling irritable, restless, and discontent, as the literature might say. And instead of going to get a drink and then getting drunk, which is that reward, it's like I can go for a run and I can get my blood flowing and, get my heart rate up. And you were talking about, working out before, like get my heart rate up and it feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
So that's kind of what I just try to. Basically, you're just pulling out one block, and I pull out one block, and I put in another, and try to find the one that fits that hole the best, right? That peg.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean,
square peg, round hole.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't fucking shave the edges off the peg.
Right.
God damn it.
That's what it takes.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it takes a little work. You got to rub it on the ground for a while.
Yeah.
Sand off the sides. Yeah, that was a weird analogy, but you know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes a little creative carpentry.
Yeah, that's recovery, is creative carpentry.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's our new podcast too.
There you go.
Mad gains, bro, and creative carpentry.
Mad gains from mad pains.
Mad.
But yeah, man, I don't think that for me, and you talk about these, they're just patterns, and if I can learn them, then I can unlearn them. And I can create new ones, and I can rearrange the ones that I have.
Right. Exactly. If the pattern, if you've been drawing triangles your whole life, you can fucking change that shit into a square.
Mm-hmm. It's just one extra line.
Pretty much, baby. That's it.
Spoken like a true artist.
This has been our NPR podcast.
But yeah, man. No, I love it. It's what is it? It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah, pretty much.
What are you going to do? But it's not what easy. Are you going to do with the rest of the week? Or how are you going to take these troubles that have...
They'll be all right. I'll fucking deal with whatever I'm dealing with, on the work end. And you know what? I have an art show. I got Jason Middleton, who I used to tattoo with. He works at a place called True Love or something now. He hit me up and said they're doing an art show in Seattle, and they're doing clock faces, 10-inch clock faces. And so he sent me a wooden clock face, and I've been working on painting it right now. So I've got that going on. So if you're in the Seattle area, I don't know where the art show is. I'll promote myself, but maybe next podcast I'll tell you where the art show is. But as far as I know now, I mean, Seattle's not very big. You should find it. It's a pretty small town. So
just Google True Love.
Just Google art show Seattle. You got it. Yeah. It's hard to read the sarcasm in my voice on the podcast.
It's good. It's good. But I mean, that's something that you enjoy. Like, that's something obviously
that's what I'd be doing during the week. Yeah, been playing Conan Exiles.
Still?
I got a server now, so me and a couple of friends are playing on this server. Plus, it's partial nudity, so you can just run around with your boobs out if you're playing a lady. Which is the rule on the server. Yeah, we all play ladies. We're called the Girl Gang. Fucking run that shit. Metal ingots all day, dude. Just burning metal.
Nice.
That doesn't make any sense unless some listener out there's like, oh yeah, I know you fucking jam, dude. That's about it. Hanging out with Olive. We got to memorize 2 poems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's got to design a treehouse and figure out the cubic... what do you call it? The volume of the treehouse and how the parameter and all that shit. And
it sounds great, man.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. What, you gonna dress up for Halloween? You got a Halloween party?
No, I'm gonna be driving to Joshua Tree. I'm gonna be on the road.
Yeah, your Halloween's gonna be spent running. Right.
So, but I've got a few more runs. I got some brand new shoes in the mail, so I'm excited when those come, and I'm gonna go for a long run this weekend and and see what I can do.
That'll be great, man.
So.
Just leave it better than when you showed up, John.
Bam. There it is.
Bam.
Oh, so speaking of which,
What's that? There it is not.
God. So one of the things when you're out hiking in the desert, we're going to be out there all day and we have a home to come back to when we're done. But in case you have to, in case you feel nature call in the heaviest way, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, take a dump out in
so
nature.
I went to REI today and I said to the guy, I was like, look, I don't know what it's called, man. Somebody said I needed a shit kit. And he's like, the guy's like, oh, you mean you need a High Sierra toilet? And I said, yeah, I think so. I don't know. So he showed me like there's buckets and all these different buckets with like lids and stuff. And
so
I was
just
like,
be running with a bucket on your belt.
No. So basically, I was like, look, I just need the simplest thing. Like there's a little 6-inch trowel. And so there's like this whole thing where he's like, look, you get this is what you need. Get this trowel, bring a couple plastic bags if you got to carry it out. And I was like, I think I'm probably just going to leave it there. I don't know what the rules are in the park, but
leave it for nature. Yeah.
But that's what I was excited about, was like learning. I have to learn how to handle my business in a
a poop trench just in case you're running this half marathon. This 12 miles. In that 12 miles, you're like, man, I shouldn't have eaten all that Arby's last night.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen during the race, but I think,
man, that lasagna dinner was a motherfucker.
Oh, that Olive Garden at Joshua Tree. I'm telling you.
I knew I was lactose intolerant. That's great.
So that was a new experience for me. I now have a trowel. And
are you camping out there? Or you guys have a Airbnb?
We got like an Airbnb. So
okay.
So, but it was just funny. It's like, find a log. You want to dig the hole behind the log so you have somewhere to sit, and then you want to be quick because you don't want to attract any flies. And so like there's all this.
Be careful too in the desert for like scorpions, spiders, snakes.
This is real.
Just look around. Just use your eyeballs before if you have to cop a squat on your run.
So this is
that sounds fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. Hopefully everything comes out the way it's supposed to. And
it better.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.